Have you ever found yourself at a loss when facing the queen's pawn game? It's a common opening in chess, starting with the move d4. It can be a daunting challenge, especially for beginners with its numerous possibilities and depth of strategy. But fear not. Overcoming this opening isn't as hard as you might think. With the right tactics and an understanding of key principles, you can hold your own. Stay tuned as we delve into strategies that can help you turn the tables in the queen's pawn game. Begin with a solid foundation, the queen's Indian defense or the Slav defense. Let's take a closer look at these defense strategies. The queen's Indian defense starts with the moves pawn to d4, knight to f6, pawn to c4, pawn to e6, and knight to f3, followed by pawn to b6. This opening allows black to control the center and prepare for a potential pawn break. On the other hand, the Slav defense, another powerful opening, involves the moves pawn to d4, pawn to d5, pawn to c4, and pawn to c6. This defense strategy establishes a strong pawn structure in the center and provides black with a solid and reliable position. These defenses are particularly effective against the queen's pawn game due to their focus on maintaining control of the center of the board, while also allowing for flexibility in piece development. Remember, a strong opening can set the tone for the rest of the game. Next, consider employing pawn breaks to disrupt your opponent's control of the center. Now, what exactly is a pawn break? Imagine it as a strategic explosion, shattering the structure of your opponent's pawn center. In the context of the queen's pawn game, there are two key pawn breaks to consider: the c4 break and the e6-c5 break. Let's dive into the c4 break. Consider moving your pawn from c7 to c5, targeting the white's control of the center. This break can unsettle the white's stronghold and open up the game, giving your pieces more room to breathe. Now, if the c4 break doesn't suit your game, or if it's not possible, the e6-c5 break is another solid option. Start with an e6 move, followed by a c5 move. This sequence creates counterplay in the center of the chessboard, throwing a wrench in your opponent's plans. Pawn breaks can be a game changer, so use them wisely. Now, let's turn our attention to piece development. An important aspect to remember when playing against the queen's pawn game is to ensure that your piece development is balanced and coordinated. This means that every piece on your board should have a clear role and support each other. Avoid making too many two-step moves in the early game unless it's absolutely necessary. This can leave your pieces vulnerable and your defenses scattered. When it comes to your bishops, don't limit them too early. Consider more flexible placement options to make the most of their long-range capabilities. As for your knights, they are your close-range warriors. Coordinate their movements to support your defense and control key areas on the board. Remember, the key to a good defense is not just about having strong pieces, but also about how well they work together. Keep in mind, a well-coordinated defense is a formidable one. Lastly, always be on the lookout for your opponent's attacking plans. This is where the concept of preventative planning comes into play. You're not just thinking about your next move, but you're also considering your opponent's potential responses. If you can identify your opponent's threats before they materialize, you can take steps to mitigate them. This might involve moving a piece to a safer square or setting up your own counterattack. The key here is to avoid finding yourself in vulnerable positions. This can be easier said than done, especially in the heat of the game, but with practice, it becomes second nature. Start by asking yourself, if I were my opponent, what would I do next? This simple question can help you anticipate threats and take preventative measures. Remember, the best defense is a good offense. Stay one step ahead of your opponent, and you'll be well on your way to mastering the queen's pawn game. Let's recap the strategies we've covered for improving your defense against the queen's pawn game. We discussed the importance of solid openings such as the queen's Indian defense and the Slav defense. We highlighted the need for pawn breaks, especially the c4 and e6-c5 breaks. Balanced piece development and flexible bishop placement are equally crucial. Remember to coordinate your knights and always have a preventative plan to avoid falling into vulnerable positions. With these strategies in your arsenal, you're now better prepared to face the queen's pawn game. Good luck and happy gaming.